Good evening. We are here to prove, using a two-column proof, a statement and a reason, that angle 6, which is here, angle 6, is congruent to angle 16, which is way over here. Now, when you think of it, some would say automatically that angle 6 and angle 16 are alternate exteriors, which means that they are on alternate sides of each other, and exterior means they are outside the parallel lines. Okay, visually you would think so, but they cannot be alternate exteriors because they sit on two separate transversal lines. Two separate transversal lines, A and B. But that will not stop us from trying to prove this theorem. We're trying to prove that these two are congruent to one another. Okay, first off, let's start with what's given. So we're going to start off with what's given. That's the first thing that you should have learned. I always start with what's given to you. So, line A is parallel to line B. Reason for this? Simple. It was given to us. Okay. Line L is parallel to line M. Reason for this one also given. Now we actually have to start getting our numbers, our angles into the picture. So let's start off with one of our first angles. One of our first angles says that, let's start with our first angle, angle 6. Angle 6 is congruent to, let's try to help each other out, angle 11. Now these two angles are angle 6 and angle 11 are right here. What would be the reason why these two would be congruent to one another? Any ideas? If not, let's think about it. There are two angles. There are two angles that are outside the parallel lines of L and M, and they are alternate sides of each other, of the transversal line. Alternate sides of the transversal line, and they are congruent. So, well, with that being said, alternate and then outside of the transversal lines, outside of the parallel lines, which means that it is exterior, alternate exterior. Okay, let's keep going. Angle 11 is congruent to angle 16. We have to try to work our way into getting angle 16 in here. What would be the reason why angle 11 is congruent to angle 16? The reason why angle 11 is congruent to angle 16. Alright, if you haven't thought of it by now, I'll help you out. Angle 11 should be congruent to angle 16 because they are corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are congruent. And the parallel lines we are actually looking at are angle B, line B, and line A. Being that these two are actually parallel to each other, I can say that angle 16 is corresponding to angle 11, which means that they are congruent to one another. Alright, lastly, angle 6 is congruent to, you guessed it, angle 16. And the reason for that would be that it is a property called transitive property. Transitive property states, in the short version, if A is congruent to B and B is congruent to C, then A must be congruent to C. Well, that's the same thing that happens with these angles. Angle 6, angle 6 is congruent to angle 11. Angle 11 is congruent to angle 16. So angle 6 was congruent to angle 11 through alternate interior. And angle 11 was congruent to angle 16 through corresponding angles. Okay, so if 6 is congruent to 11, and 11 is congruent to 16, I can finally say that 6 is congruent to 16. And you have just wrote a two-column proof to prove that 6 is congruent to 16. Thank you. See you tomorrow.